Hello guys, welcome to round two with the 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this next step here. With this one, something's a little bit different. We still have a pattern here, but there's going to be a couple steps. Since it's not 45-45, I'm going to have different legs. There's going to be called a short leg and a long leg. So we're going to have three different numbers here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to locate the 30 degrees. Okay. And then opposite of that is always going to be one that's going to, well, this will be the pattern. So it's going to shoot opposite of it. This would be a 5. The hypotenuse is a 10. And this will be 5 square root of 3. So whenever we try to find our pattern here, that's what we're going to use. We're always going to come back to this one, the 30, 60, 90. Okay. First thing we're going to have to do is be able to label what we have. So how I do this, there's kind of like a roadmap that we're going to follow. So just like how we will do in the future sine, cosine, tangent, this 30 is going to be kind of like what's called a reference angle. So I'm going to shoot opposite, shoot like an arrow, and I'm going to create an arrow to all three sides. Okay. The 10 is going to be the hypotenuse. And now these two are both legs, but now to distinguish between them, I'm going to have a long leg and a short leg. So opposite the 30 is always the short leg. And this is the long leg. Long leg. So whenever we go through this, I'm always going to travel along that arrow. So I'm still asking myself, well, is the side getting bigger or smaller? Or is my number getting bigger or smaller? So as I go here, some of these are kind of easy. So like from 5 to 10, my pattern, if I go from 5 to 10, I'm going to multiply by 2. Okay, or if I go backwards, I could divide by 2. So if I start with the hype and go to the short leg, okay, 5 to 10, you multiply or divide by 2. Down here, 5 to the 5 square root of 3. Like if I put 5 square root of 3 in my calculator again, 5 square root of 3, I get 8.66 or 8.67. That's a bigger number than 5. Okay, so to get bigger, I'm going to have to multiply 5 times whatever I see here, times the square root of 3. Or if I go backwards, I'd go from about 8.67 to 5. So I'd have to take that number and do 5 divided by the square root of 3. It always depends on the location. Okay, so first step for all these is draw your arrow. Arrow. Kind of gives you your bearings. Okay, so you have to locate that 30. So for number 1 here, I'm going to locate the 30. Here is my opposite. I'm going to shoot the arrow, and then it's going to look something like that. Okay, I've got my two legs formed by the 90. Okay, this one's longer, so this is the long leg, short leg, and the height. All right, so now I need to go back to my map. Okay, this, if I'm given the long leg and I travel, well, here I'm going from 5 square root of 3, it's getting smaller to 5. So now I have to, this pattern tells me to divide by the square root of 3. That's by whatever number that is located there. Okay, it does not matter what that number is. My pattern tells me to divide by the square root of 3. So I'm going to take this 3 square root of 6, and to show division, I'm going to write the fraction. Okay, since both of these are underneath the square root, I can simplify them. So the 6 and the 3, 6 divided by 3 would give me a 2 up top, which is still underneath that square root. So this would be 3 square root of 2 over 1. So x would be 3 square root of 2. Okay, Now I'm traveling along this arrow. Now I have x, 3 square root of 2, to travel from the short leg to the hypotenuse. I need to look back up here. Short leg to the hypotenuse, I ask myself, what's the pattern? How do I get from 5 to 10? Multiply by 2. So whatever this is, I'm going to take 3 square root of 2 times just 2. Now whenever I simplify this, 2 is outside the square root. So I go outside with outside. 2 times 3 is 6. Then you bring along the square root of 2. That would be for the y. Okay. For number 2 here, yeah, some of these are a little easier than others. Okay. Everything comes back to my roadmap though. Okay, so if this is 90, 60, that makes this one over here 30. Always locate the 30. Draw your arrow. So you're shooting it across to the opposite side. Boom. Always shoots to the short leg, long leg, and the hypotenuse. Now when I go to solve, and you guys can pause this whenever you need to, okay? I ask myself, well, let's go from short leg to the hypotenuse. So I jump back up here. Short leg is here. Short leg to the hypotenuse. All I'm doing is I'm multiplying by 2. So 8 times 2 equals 16. Okay. Now, I can't really go straight from the hype to the long leg. There's no line that connects it, so I need to go the other way. Short leg to long leg. Well, short leg to long leg, I ask myself, well, if I start here at the 5 and go to the 5 square root of 3, is my number getting bigger or is it getting smaller? Bigger is multiply, smaller is divide. So I'm going to take this, it's getting bigger. So I'm going to take 8 times the square root of 3 to get 8 square root of 3. Okay. Now, going to number 3. Find your 30. Draw your arrow. Label if you have to. Hype. Short leg. Long leg. Ask yourself, do 11 is the hypotenuse, so hype to leg. Now, this might look a little weird. Okay, this one's going to be a little more complicated. I won't give you too many fractions, but this is one where it will show up. Okay, so let's zoom in here. If I'm going from 10 to 5, I'm dividing by 2. So I'm going to have to do the same thing over here. If I take 11 and divide it by 2, we've seen fractions before. Okay, improper fractions. I'm okay with this. Okay, some of you might write 5.5. I will accept that, but I would like to see the fraction. Okay, now short leg to long leg, I look back over here. Short leg to long leg, looks like it's getting bigger. I need that square root of 3. So I'm going to take this. So I'm going to go 11 over 2, so 11 halves, times the square root of 3. Now that'd be the same as the square root of 3 over 1. Okay, so my answer, if I just multiply across, would be 11 square root of 3 over 2. Looks a little funky, but that's okay. Okay, if I look at number 4. Okay, you find your 30, draw your arrow. I've got my height, I got my short leg, I've got my long leg. Okay, so then I need to go back. If I go long leg, travel on my line, long leg to short leg. So I'm going to look back up here. You may have to draw this triangle a couple times or you should see it. Long leg to short leg. Now it's getting smaller. I'm going 5 square root of 3 to just 5. So I have to divide by the square root of 3. It's disappearing. So I'm going to take 9 square root of 3 and divide it by the square root of 3. And there you go. Okay. Then I look back up here. Now I'm going short leg to the hypotenuse. Short leg to a hypotenuse. It's getting bigger. 5 times 2 is 10, so I have to take this. So 9 times 2 is 18. Some are easier than others. Okay. Number 5, 60. Here's my 30. Shoot the arrow. Short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Okay. Ask yourself, what do I have to do to go from the long leg to the short leg? What do I have to do to get from the long leg to the short leg? 5 square root of 3 to 5. It's all about the location. It's getting smaller. So I'm going to take 12 and divide it by the square root of 3. Now I have to simplify because I can't have that square root in the denominator. So times top and bottom, square root of 3. I would have 12 square root of 3 over 3. Okay, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is the square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Now, since these are both on the outside, 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now, to go from short leg to the hypotenuse, 5 times 2 is 10, so I have to do the same thing here. 4 square root of 3 times 2, outside with outside, equals 8 square root of 3. Last one here. Again, you guys can do this on your own on your paper. You can pause it at any time if you feel like you need more time to do this. Okay, label, short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Now I'm going hypotenuse to short leg. So this, I'd have to divide by 2. It's getting smaller. So I'm going to go 10 square root of 2 divided by 2. So the key is knowing what you're dividing by, what you're multiplying by, what you're dividing by. Then from there, I can simplify. 10 over 2 is 5 square root of 2. Short leg to long leg now, short leg to long. It's getting bigger, so I'm going to have to multiply by the square root of 3. So I'm going to take this times the square root of 3. Notice I'm traveling along here every time, traveling on that arrow. Now, the 5 is on the outside, so the only thing that changes is the inside. So this should be 5. 2 times 3 is 6.